So let's take a look at price charts. We'll take a look first at the NASDAQ. Price generally moves in a trend, but it needs to have a break every now and then, for lack of a better term. A lot of people say that it needs to generate liquidity, it needs to develop, um, you know, more interest in the opposite direction, which is why it has kind of these pullbacks amongst a larger trend. So we'll see this type of price development on larger scale for time frame, and then even on smaller intraday stuff. So let's take a look at the NASDAQ index, pull the price. So as you could see, just a very general price movement. Price just moves kind of in a straight line. There's a little bit of action, and then there's kind of a bit of a break. And so I mentioned this analysis method requires a little bit of discretion. And a little bit of discretion is to kind of identify where price has either a pause to generate liquidity or a bit of a shift, where you kind of see on the chart here kind of these speed bumps or these hiccups. So, here, this is a big shift. This was pandemic driven. And then maybe here can be maybe a recent one. So we'll take a look at these, and we use these kind of shifts in the main trend as decent anchor points. And so one of the most challenging aspects of this analysis method is to find the best anchor points. And so what we're looking at here from an uptrend perspective is we're looking to see, using current price action, we'll say that we're trading here, where potentially could we go to the upside, and what would that look like? So what we would do is we would use our tool, and we would take a look at some of these pullbacks. We could maybe start here and start at the lowest point here and pull it up top to see where potentially we could have some extension zones. In this example, it didn't go very well to the 161, but you can see here it kind of had some resistance around those levels. But another one we could take a look at here is this big dump here. I think this was the COVID crash of the stock market, where you could see, okay, in an uptrend, where is price going to fall to? And you can see here that it didn't fall, exactly to that level, but you could use it as an analysis tool, to maybe set some conditions for yourself. Okay, if it gets over the 7,590 level, then we'll be good to continue in our uptrend. You can also use a large pullback or crash like that as an anchor point bottom to an anchor point top to take a look at some potential extension zones. So we would want to see price action get above kind of the initial rebound zone, and then we can start to look for how it reacts to extension zones to the upside. So the first zone we hit, there's a bit of resistance, some consolidation before extending again to the upside. And right when it hit that second level, there was an immediate rejection, which was bought up, and it consolidated a bit more before continuing to push and retest and go up to the 361 before having a larger pullback. Now, one of the reasons that we don't extend it too much further, in a lot of cases, I tend to not look too much further beyond just a 261, is that once price has made a move like this and has consolidated, a lot of times there are new anchor points to be found. There's a new fresh perspective to be gleaned from using this system. So perhaps we could, once we got to the 161 level here and we were starting to consolidate and put in a bit of a range, maybe we updated our extension zones from using the COVID crash as anchor points down here to now, okay, now we're going to use this fresh kind of shift in price movement. It's a very clean movement. These candles are very clean, and then there's a bit of a stall. So you could use this as potentially another set of anchor points. And you can see there that works decently well. Once we kind of get over this initial resistance here, we move to the first rebound, or not first rebound, but the first extension zone, put in a bit of a consolidation, and then move higher, 261 consolidation, and then just to the underside of 361 before rejecting and then coming back down. And you can see too, again, these levels act as support and resistance a lot of times. So the first, this is a weekly chart. So there probably could be, this is a very high overview, but the system still works. But you could see, support, resistance, support here, and it kept moving back down. Something to consider is that we like to see our anchor points be updated. So, looking at current price action here on the NASDAQ, we had, very clean move here, with a bit of a pullback, and then a clean move, pullback, and then another clean move. And it's hard to say what we're going to do next, but we could take a look just from a high analysis time frame of where we've come from to potentially help us see where we might be heading next. So you could use kind of this pullback to see how price is reacting to extension zones. If you don't love that, and if you don't see a ton of confluence, then you can maybe look recently to see here at what we're looking at here. And it looks like just from this most recent pullback on a weekly chart, we had a rejection off of the first extension zone. It went back up, and now we're kind of slowing a little bit at the second extension zone. So potentially for the NASDAQ, we haven't traded fully into this level, but the fact that there's a little bit of hesitation in front of it could show that, potentially we have another few weeks of moving into this before we either spend some time consolidating here before moving further into a zone higher, or coming to retest this and then putting in consolidation. So as we discussed earlier, the market moves from consolidations to extensions. Consolidation, extension. And then even down below here, to wrap up this little clip, consolidation, extension, consolidation, extension, little consolidation, extension. So kind of play around with that a little bit, see how that looks on your chart, and we'll take a look at some other examples.